Hey, this is Owen. If you're comfortable, leave your first name and state at the sound of the tiny truck backing up.
Hi, Owen. This is Sarah from Denmark. So I was wondering, where does the QAnon in QAnon come from? What's the deal with how that originated? Is there any significance to that at all? So I thought that could be interesting to figure out. So, hey, have a good day. Bye.
Appreciate that. Makes sense that you're not super familiar with like the origins because you're not from the US, right? I think you said you were from Denmark. Basically, in the US, I'm sure your country has something similar. In fact, maybe it has the exact same structure. I don't know. But in the US, in the intelligence community, like in the FBI and the CIA and everywhere else, they have different levels of classification of information. So if the FBI finds out there's some organization that's planning some kind of a crazy attack or something, and they don't want that organization to know that they are onto them, they will classify that information under like top secret clearance or secret clearance. I mean, there are different levels of information where you have to pass these various different background checks and tests before you're allowed to have access to this kind of information. The highest that it goes, I believe, is top secret. Yeah. Top secret is the highest it goes. Top secret is the kind of shit that you discuss with the president, like things that are happening in Russia or things that are happening in Ukraine. That's the kind of thing that is classified as top secret information. And nobody except for like a very few people at the top have the clearance to access top secret information. Well, the Department of Energy in the United States has another level of clearance beyond top secret. The Department of Energy. It's not like the intelligence community. It's not mixed in there with like the FBI or the CIA. Not on the same level. But their next level of security clearance is Q level security. I don't know why they call it Q level security. They just do. So this person years ago, back in I think 2018, I don't remember exactly when QAnon first appeared, but there was a guy on 4chan that appeared. And by the way, 4chan call each other Anons. That's 4chan and 8chan users call themselves Anons because they're anonymous. They have a number of different names for each other, but one of the names at the time was Anon. And this guy on 4chan was claiming to be a Q-level security clearance person who had secret information that the government was trying to cover up, and so he called himself Q Anon. He posted as Q, being from 4chan and 8chan. The group that followed him became known as Q Anon. That's kind of the origin of the name. So, looking back, in all honesty, why would a Q-level security clearance person, somebody at the very top of government, go to a scumbag website like 8chan that's full of real horrific fucked up stuff that shouldn't exist? Why would a Q-level clearance person go to 8chan and post secret information for the world to see? That's ridiculous. It makes no sense at all. But these people aren't thinking that far ahead. They wanted to believe it, and so they do. Simple as that. So that's the origin of the name QAnon. 4chan and 8chan were designed to be anonymous, so it's pretty difficult to track. Not impossible, but very, very hard to track who is actually posting on these websites, and that's why they call themselves Anons. It started out on 4chan, and when it moved to 8chan, when the Q poster moved from 4chan to 8chan eventually, their writing style changed. That's how we know, as a matter of fact, there have been multiple different people who posted under the name Q. Our best bet is the first Q poster was probably Tracy Beans Diaz. She was an early adopter of the belief system, and she was an early influencer and promoter in the movement. And another guy, I forget his name now, Paul something. I've talked about him in videos before, but he typed something out on a web browser once and then moved the camera away moved the camera back, and exactly what he had typed was posted as Q. So the guy had the login for Q. That video no longer exists anymore. He deleted it, but people who followed the movement in the early days have records of it and talk about it and remember it. So the fact is, QAnon was never somebody who was Q level clearance. And when it finally moved to 8chan, the belief is that somebody who goes by Code Monkey, basically the admin of 8chan, the website, aka Ron Watkins, started posting as Q, took the account over, basically a hostile takeover, and started posting there using the advice of his father, Jim Watkins, to kind of come up with ideas and stuff. That's the assumption, that's the guess at who QAnon was, how it was started, when and where, and when it changed hands and things like that. Hopefully that sheds some light. Captain Gars. So what really makes the whole Q thing extra improbable is how classified info is handled. Everyone knows that all classified data is need to know, and not everyone knows everything, so it's extremely easy to track leaks. Yeah, absolutely. But none of that information passes their mind, you know? There was a QAnon celebrity named Kirsten Weldon. She died of COVID recently, sadly. I think like last month or something. Maybe even this month she died of COVID. And she claimed to have military contacts that had information that they were sharing with her about top secret stuff. They were sharing top secret information with her, allegedly. Really? You trying to tell me that military operatives that have top secret clearance communicate with QAnon influencers, people who are viewed as conspiracy theorists to the rest of the world? You're telling me military operatives go to them first? It's ridiculous at its face. Shantae Townsell, where did the child arm of QAnon come from, and where was Q in the Catholic Church is coming to light? Well, the Catholic Church stuff, that didn't happen. And when did that happen? That was like 10, 15 years ago, right? When that really started coming out heavily. 2011, I think, is when that really started coming out. And they were moving people around to different parishes, protecting them and stuff. Is that right? 2011? I think that's when it was, when it all started falling apart for them. QAnon didn't actually start until 2016 to 2021, roughly. The child stuff came from old anti-Jewish Nazi tropes. Basically, in World War II, there were a lot of anti-Jewish tropes about how they'd use kids in their religious rituals and, you know, religious ritual sacrifices and stuff like that. All this stuff that QAnon says about kids and all the things happening to them, all this shit is just old Jewish tropes from World War II, honestly. It's all of the same shit recycled all over again. Except this time, QAnon isn't explicitly calling out Jews like they did in 1940s Germany. Now they're just saying elites. They're referring to them as elites. They refer to them as the cabal also. That's a common word for them. Hollywood elites and stuff like that. It's all code word for Jews, honestly. The international perpetual scapegoat of the world at this point. So yeah, that's where it all came from. The poster, the guy who pretended to be like Q level clearance, he started posting a whole bunch of stuff called Q drops. And they were basically repeats of old Jewish tropes. He doesn't actually mention adrenochrome by name, but adrenochrome is a core part of the QAnon belief system as a movement. So some of it kind of rose organically. Some of it kind of just came out of the movement naturally. Like, this is where the conspiracy mindset led these people, and they posted memes about it, and then the rest picked up on it and agreed, and that's just the way that it went. That's kind of how it played out over the course of a couple of years, basically. If you're interested in more reading, there's a book called, let me look the book up. I've read it a couple times now. It's fascinating. It's called, book is called The Storm is Upon Us by Mike Rothschild. And it's all about the origins of the QAnon movement and how it got to where it is today. Absolutely fascinating read. It's on Audible if you're interested. They are not a sponsor of mine, by the way. That's just where I read it.
Back when I was a young boy.
First of all, absolutely love the intro. I appreciate how that started out. Let's continue.
Politicians had different tactics when they got... Oh, by the way, this is Louis, Missouri. Politicians had different tactics of backing out of a corner, and lately I'd been really confused about this whole cameo thing, and I figured it out. It's so that when they get raided by the FBI, they have hundreds of thousands of extra hours of talking on audio that's bullshit. Oh, you have to censor that word out. Anyway, your thoughts? Later.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, I don't need to censor anything. It's fine. For those of you who may be unfamiliar, Cameo is this platform that famous people go on and charge people to make videos. So you pay somebody like Caitlyn Jenner, is that the name? Yeah. Caitlyn Jenner was on Cameo. I think the highest charging Cameo account. They were charging like $3,000 per video or some ridiculous thing like that. You pay them the $3,000 and you ask them to like wish your son a happy birthday or something. They get on there and they're like, oh, happy birthday, blah, 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 you know. It's kind of ridiculous, but, you know, some people like interacting with famous people like that, so whatever. I actually tried to sign up with Cameo at one point, but they rejected me. I guess I'm not famous enough for them or whatever. But I do find it interesting that you said politicians interact differently with people now than they used to. I think that's partly because Christianity has so thoroughly infiltrated the political system in the U.S. at this point. I forget who it was, maybe Barry Goldwater. He was a Republican back in the day. He was a Republican politician before Christianity had thoroughly infiltrated politics. And he said something about being concerned about how rigid Christians were in the political system, like Christian extremists refuse to negotiate because they have these deeply held beliefs that they refuse to let go of. And if they ever actually get political power, we're all going to be in a lot of trouble because politics is negotiating. That's what it's all about. It's about negotiating to get what you want or what you need and giving the other guy what they feel they want or need also. Christianity doesn't work like that. They will have their way, or they will die trying. I don't remember the exact quote from Barry Goldwater, but that was the general sentiment, if I remember correctly. I guess he probably never lived to see that day, but here we are now, man. Christianity has fully infiltrated politics at this point, and his words absolutely came true. So it's incredibly concerning to watch that unfold. And simultaneously very interesting to know that there were people who saw this coming long before it happened. Even Republicans saw this coming long before it actually took place.
Hi, Owen. This is Jim in Pennsylvania, and I wondered if you thought that Robin Bullock wears a wig. Thanks. Bye.
I appreciate that. Interesting question. I don't think so. You know what? Let's take a look. We're not trying to criticize what he's saying right now. We're just trying to figure out if the dude's wearing a wig. Let's watch this clip and see what you guys think. I've never played this clip on my channel before. It's as ridiculous as all of his other ones. Check this out. See if he's wearing a wig or not.
I was standing on a stage and I heard this in the spirit. I was standing on the 11th hour stage and I heard a conversation. I told the people about it. I heard a conversation about shipping and ships and things like that.
You guys think it's a wig? I'm not convinced. He's got this whole aesthetic, and he's had this aesthetic since the dawn of time. He's had this aesthetic since he started, basically. The leather jacket, the black clothes, the necklace, it all kind of comes together in this big aesthetic that he's had forever. I'd be willing to bet his hair is real. He may dye it. That wouldn't surprise me. In fact, I'd be surprised if he doesn't dye it. But I believe that the hair is real, personally.
They're going to create a crisis. And they're going to try to create this crisis. And I told them, and I sent word to the rightful president of the United States.
Yeah, basically he's, in this video, he's alerting Trump that a ship is going to get stuck in the Suez Canal, and then it got stuck in the Suez Canal. Of course, completely full of shit, but we're not getting into the video. We're just trying to figure out if the dude's wearing a wig. I don't think so. I think his hair is real, personally.
Hey, Owen. It's Ben from New York. I was watching some of your old Caleb and Sophia videos, and I noticed how you mentioned that every single thing in there, from the way people dress to, every little detail is very deliberate. And I was wondering if that has anything to do with the father's accent, like if that somehow reflects on like something in Jehovah's Witness culture. Sorry for all the ums and ands. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Here's the thing about the father's accent. Nobody can pin it down. Nobody can figure out what it is. People from Brazil think it's Brazilian. People from Spain think it's Spanish. I mean, no one can figure out what the accent is exactly.
From the beginning, Jehovah has always cared about people.
What is that accent? What is it? Nobody can figure this out. If somebody knows, please post it in the comments.
Sadly, many of them have caused him great pain.
I think it's honestly a combination of different accents to make him slightly more relatable to different ethnic groups. I think they were mostly trying to appeal to minority groups, make their organization more interesting and more desirable to minority groups. Who knows, honestly? Like I said, and like you pointed out aptly, every single thing they put in these videos is deliberate and intentional. So I'm sure that there's some reason why this dad's accent is fake and difficult to pin down. I'm just not really sure exactly what it is. It's a very odd thing to fake, right? An accent. Why? Why make up an accent like that? I don't know. Here's an email from Tate. Theocratic warfare. Hi, I converted to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses from paganism. Interesting that Tate says one of Jehovah's Witnesses. That's a distinction that the outside world doesn't make, but Jehovah's Witnesses specifically do make. I used to call myself a Jehovah's Witness, and I was corrected by the elder body. They said, we aren't Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. I am one of Jehovah's Witnesses. You need to frame it in this very specific way so that people understand you to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Make it more real for them. That distinction was not lost on me in the email. Let's continue. I converted to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses from paganism around 15 years ago and only started seeing the truth about the organization about a year ago. I was in a very dark, hopeless place, and I believe your videos were instrumental in not only saving my life, but transforming it into something that gives me joy again. So when I say thank you to you, I hope you understand the gravity of that statement. I absolutely do understand it, and I appreciate that. I remember being in the exact situation you're describing right now. I remember being in that situation myself when I was leaving the organization, too. So I deeply appreciate that. You did more for me with a few videos than the governing body did in many, many years. I have one question for you, though. Before your videos, I never heard the term theocratic warfare. Are there any publications that use this term, or was it just something you heard spoken amongst friends? Again, thank you for all the work you do. It's touching lives, and it changed mine. Interesting question. I've talked about theocratic warfare before. The idea behind theocratic warfare is it's okay to lie and cheat and manipulate if it's in service to Jehovah, aka the organization. It's okay to cheat somebody out of something or manipulate them or lie to them if you are servicing the governing body. That's the idea behind theocratic warfare. So I specifically went and looked it up on their website. And right here on jw.org is a section on using theocratic war strategy. I just want to give it a quick skim, so let's read it and see what it has to say. A witness of Jehovah was going from house to house in eastern Germany when she met a violent opposer. Knowing at once what to expect, she changed her red blouse for a green one in the very next hallway. No sooner had she appeared on the street than a communist officer asked her if she had seen a woman with a red blouse. No, she replied, and went on her way. Did she tell a lie? No, she did not. She was not a liar. Rather, she was using theocratic war strategy, hiding the truth by action and word for the sake of the ministry. In this she had good scriptural precedent. Did not Rahab hide the Israelite spies by both action and word? Did not Abraham, Isaac, David, and others likewise hide the truth at times when faced with a hostile enemy? They certainly did, and never do we read a word of censure for their doing so. Rather, we read of their being termed exemplary servants of Jehovah. Their actions are in line with Jesus' wise counsel. Look, I am sending you forth as sheep amidst wolves. Therefore prove yourselves cautious as serpents, and yet innocent as doves. This kind of gives you an idea of what they believe. It's okay to lie and cheat. It's okay if you don't tell the truth, if you manipulate people, if you are serving the cause. Now, here's the real crux of the issue. Any of us would look at this and say, you know, you're saving an innocent person's life. That's perfectly acceptable. The scenario that they laid out in this would be acceptable morally to just about anybody. But it isn't about saving somebody's life. It's about what the elders expect you to say and do and think. The expectations are outlined by the elder body, not by morality. They define morality for you. So this magazine, or whatever it is, Watchtower announcing Jehovah's Kingdom, I guess it's the Watchtower from 1957, it gives the broad overarching idea, and then the gaps are filled in by friends and family and people in the Jehovah's Witness culture already. They don't really spread the idea of theocratic warfare around a lot because they don't want the authorities to really be aware of the fact that they're okay with lying and manipulating if it's in service to the governing body. So they don't really talk about it a whole lot unless they're with somebody that they trust. That was my experience with it anyway. So hopefully that fills in the gaps for you. If you wanted to read more about it, like I said, just type in Google jw.org theocratic warfare or use theocratic war strategy, and this article will come right up and it'll explain what they think of it. It's been in other books too, not just in this old Watchtower. It's in other areas too. This email's from Lila. My name's Lila. I live in Fargo, North Dakota. My family isn't that religious, but I'm still scared to tell them that I don't believe in God. In fact, my brother goes to Sunday school. I guess what I'm asking is, what should I do? I already told my mom, and she said I should still go to church. Like I said, they aren't the super religious type, but also if you know anything about the Dakotas, you would know they're super religious. So what should I do? Thanks, love your channel, especially when the cats interrupt. Okay, I'll make sure I get more cat interruptions in the future. This is a decision that only you can make for yourself. I can tell you this, though. There will most likely come a time when you can't pretend anymore. And that's going to put you in a difficult situation. You're going to have to come out and tell them you don't want to go anymore. You don't want to do this stuff anymore. You don't want to listen to this anymore. You don't want to participate. And that's going to cause a big rift. There's a possibility it'll cause a big rift at the very least. It could cause problems between you and the rest of the family. Pushing that off as much as possible would be the ideal situation, would be the ideal goal. Try to push it off where you aren't so completely burned out on what's happening that you just go off on people and tell them you don't want anything to do with this anymore. If it's possible, lower the amount of time that you spend going to church every month. Maybe go like every other week or something. Try to fade out if at all possible. I don't know if that's possible in your situation or not. Only you know what you're capable of in your situation. But don't let yourself get to the point where you're so burned out that you're going to explode on people, because that's definitely a quick way to out yourself as an atheist or an unbeliever, and things could get ugly from there. So good luck. I hope things go okay. I hope that your family is understanding, more understanding than you might expect. Who knows? Here's an email from Thomas. Hi there. Do Jehovah's Witness members believe in meditation, and how are you and your daughter? From Thomas from Denmark. I appreciate that. We're doing okay. Just got vaccinated with our booster shots and the flu shot, like yesterday. It has knocked us on our asses. It has not been fun dealing with this. We are so fucking sick. Or I am, at the very least. And Kylie said she had a pretty rough night, too. We're making it. At least we're not in the hospital with COVID. That's a plus, right? Regarding your other question, do Jehovah's Witness members believe in meditation? It depends on what you mean by meditation. A lot of the time you'll hear Jehovah's Witnesses talking about and encouraging meditation. Well, what they mean when they say meditation is praying to Jehovah, reading all of their articles and studying their magazines and stuff like that. If you mean mindfulness meditation, then I would say no, they are not in favor of that. They believe yoga is demonic. They have a lot of weird beliefs about meditation and stretches of various sorts, but they do encourage meditation the way they define it. So hopefully that answered your question. I've actually been streaming on Twitch lately on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I've been playing Breath of the Wild and just hanging out and talking to people. That's been pretty cool. I definitely qualify to be an affiliate now. I think I have like an average of 35 active viewers on average, and I need 75 to get partnered. But like I said, no rush. You know, these things will happen. Growth with social media has to happen organically, so don't feel pressured to go over if you don't want to. It's going to be perfectly fine.